and now we'll start with the second chapter of the class in the last class. So let us quickly see what it entails for all of us. So here it is on your screen. This chapter talks about federalism. So what exactly is federalism? A system of government in which the power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country, which means there is one central authority, that is the union government, and decentralization happens from the center itself. There are different constituent units, the state governments, the local governments, the districts, and they are very much connected with each other. So a federation has two levels of government. One is the government for the entire country that is usually responsible for few subjects of common national interest. The others are government at level of province or state that look after much of the day-to-day administration of their state. So they enjoy their power independent of each other. Now, different tiers of government govern the same citizen, but each tier has a different jurisdiction. It means that their rights to make laws, jurisdiction is the right to make law. This is what this term stands for. Regarding legislation, making law, taxation, and administration is different, which means state government will make laws on state list, the union government will make subject law on union list. Both of them can make laws on concurrent list, but if there is a conflict, the union law will prevail. And if there is any matter which is not there in either of these three lists, that would automatically fall in the residuary list, which is again governed by the center. So jurisdiction of the respective level of tiers of government are specified in the constitution. That's what I told you. And fundamental provision of the constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. If there is some change regarding the federal structure of India, then not only the government, the Parliament of India, but more than half the state assemblies have to give their consent. This is how federal structure of India can be changed, or whether it's changed for positive or some negative things happen. Again, there has to be consent from more than 50% of state assemblies before an attempt could be made. So their sources of revenue are different, but then most of the states depend on center because states do not have much of their own revenue sources. And it has dual objective to safeguard and promote unity of country and to accommodate regional diversity. These two aspects are there. So the exact balance of power between central and state government varies from one federation to the other. Now, this balance depends mainly on the historical context in which federation was formed. There are two kinds of route through which federation have been formed. The first route involves independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit. This type of coming together federation includes US, Switzerland, and Australia. See, US is a result of coming together of states. If you study this in world history, you will know this. But in India, it is held together. India, Spain, and Belgium, this is holding together of federation. They didn't come on their own. They were, if you have to study this in your paper one post-independence consolidation, that the Chamber of Prince meeting happened and Sardar Patel actually forced them to come together. And now we are holding all the states together. They are inseparable part. Article 1, India, that is Bharat, an indestructible union of destructible states, India is. So central government tends to be more powerful vis-a-vis the states. So this is how large countries' constitutions are, and which is India under different circumstances that the American circumstances, it has adopted this one, this form of federalism, that is holding together rather than coming together. So what makes India a federal country? The three lists I think told you. There are some topics that are there in the union list for banking, communication, currency, foreign policy, nuclear policy, defense of India. These are into the union list. Only government of India can make laws on that. State list: trade, commerce, agriculture, irrigation, education, police, law and order. State list: state governments can make law on this. So whenever there is a grave situation, God forbid, in any state, maybe a law and order situation in a state, what does the central government say? That this is within the central state government's ambit, we cannot do much on it. State government should have taken control. Right now corona crisis is going on, so state is saying that we are issuing guidelines. This is what the center is saying, that we are issuing guidelines. It is up to the states to follow those guidelines. If they are not following, the cases are increasing, the casualties are happening, and more people are getting in the grip of this pandemic. This is what the center is saying right now, that we have already issued guidelines and we are asking all the states to act on the same. So see, education, health, these are our state topics. Forest, marriages, all of them. Now there is something called concurrent list, as I told you, that both of them can make laws on it. But if there is a conflict, of course, the center's law would prevail, because center is much stronger and powerful than any state government in India. Now there are some special states like Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal. Article 371. Please remember it. They have this peculiar social and historic circumstances. The special powers have been given to them because their lifestyle differs from rest of the India, the mainstream of India. So they have been accorded some autonomy of their own. Indians who are not permanent residents of the state cannot buy land or house there. Again, see the state name of it: Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal, and Mizoram. Article 371. This line is very important for prelims exam. Similarly, special provision exists for some other states of India as well. Now, areas like Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Delhi, these are, union territories directly governed by the union. However, Delhi is having a chief minister, a legislative assembly, because Delhi is too large, and it is also governed by the Act of NCT, the National Capital Territory. Not we are studying not studying this in the NCRT here. So the sharing of power between union and the state is the basic to the structure of the constitution. Not very easy to change or alter it. And again, judiciary, the courts play an important role in overseeing the implementation of constitutional provision and on the procedures. So the high courts and the supreme courts, they can often take a call. They take these cases also. Union and state government have the power to raise resource by levying tax in order to carry on the government and the responsibilities assigned to each of them. But then they have to pass a law. They cannot take this decision unilaterally. They have to pass a law in their respective legislature. So if it's a union law, it has to be parliament. If it's a state law, it has to be the state assembly. That is the Vidhan Sabha. So how is federalism practiced? You see the linguistic states, and these states were created on the basis of language. As I told you, Andhra Pradesh was one such state. Gujarat was one such state which was separated from Maharashtra. So language policy was there, that our constitution did not give the status of national language to NC. What happened was, there was this official language act being passed, but people from South India, they had their apprehension, and rightfully so, that if Hindi becomes the lingua franca of India, then people from Hindi speaking states from North India would be running the show. South Indians will be marginalized. Why? Because they don't know Hindis like North Indians do. Of course, a North Indian, generally speaking, I'm not going for particular cases. There are many people in Delhi I come across, my Hindi is not good. So, discounting them, generally, as North Indian Hindi would be better than South Indian, South Indians Hindi. So, South Indians had their apprehension is that if Hindi becomes the franca, the lingua franca, and if entire government work is done in Hindi, then we will never be a part of that process. We will be marginalized from the government department and government offices. So that is why English was made along with Hindi. It was to continue for 10 years. Now every 10 years amendment is being done, and official language of India is Hindi in Devanagari script along with English, to help those who do not understand Hindi. Okay, especially South India, northeast of India. So that is why this was done. Hindi is the most mother tongue, and 40% of Indians speak English. I somehow, most of Indians also understand Hindi, whether they can speak it fluently or not. But all of us, to some varying extent, can understand Hindi for sure. Of course, English is the connecting language of entire India. And beside Hindi, there are 21 other languages recognized as scheduled language by the eighth schedule is there. So, it's, if anyone asks you what is the national language, these 21 languages are the national language. Okay, Hindi is as beautiful as Telugu. These two are as beautiful as Tamil. These three are as beautiful as Dogra, Punjabi, any Indian language. These 21 of them are Indian languages in the 8th schedule of India. These are the national languages. Hindi, what is Hindi? Hindi is the official language in Devanagari script along with English. Please remember this. A candidate in an examination conducted for the central government position may opt to take the exam in any of these languages. State to have their own official language, but then there has to be a number. Only then the government is going to translate it. So India did the right thing by adopting this policy of language policy. Else there would have been more fissures in India, more fault lines in India. Center-state relation. What I would suggest here, apart from this book, is that North Indians should be encouraged to study South Indian languages. I think that will make Hindi more welcome in South India, right? So people in North India must learn either of the four what is known as Dravidian language, the Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam. And I see people learning French and German and Chinese and everything, but they are not aware of their own languages. If I don't know Telugu or Tamil, I'm not knowing an Indian language. So attempt should be made for assimilation, for accommodating each other, for appreciating each other. This will, within few years, entire this confrontation type of thing will vanish if such an attempt is made. So you can give this suggestion when you are writing main exam, that there is something called official language formula, that this also we will see in post independent consultation when you will study that. So not going into all that right now. Center state relations, restructuring the center state relation is one more way in which federalism can be strengthened. So ruling party at the state level was different, and the center party, the party running at the center is different. Then of course there are some issues, but that needs to be sorted out. And then it was very much upfront when coalition era, as I told you, 30 years, 84 to 2014 was coalition era. No party could act on its own. No national party could form government on their own. So that was a good time for federal structure. Why? Because none of the national parties, the BJP or the Congress, could run the show on their own. They were dependent on the support of small regional parties. So an Atal Bihari Vajpayee needed a Mamata Banerjee or a Naveen Patnaik or a Mayawati or a Jayalalitha or the rival, that guy, Chashma Wala, Karunanidhi. So it improved the federal structure because national parties were dependent on the regional parties. Now, a Congress also needed the same people, Mulayam or Lalu or these uh, Shiv Sena right now. So all these Mamata Banerjee. So national parties needed regional parties. That to some extent improved the federal position because state parties, the regional parties, were in a better position to kind of negotiate with the center. They started demanding their lion's share, and of course there were some repercussions also, but that we are not seeing here. So this is what is largely given in the book, and SRC reports are given. Decentralization and else thing, so the subsequent things we shall see tomorrow. And please revise this. Please revisit this chapter. Remember what I told you to remember. Please note it down that these states are not where there are certain states in Northeast where not everyone can go and buy property. Article 371 is very important. With the news of NRC and CA, it will become very more important. So we'll again revisit it. There have been some changes, but for now, please remember that. We are meeting tomorrow again. Take very good care and keep studying, keep working hard. Thank you.